我真的觉得现在充电器为什么做那么大个啊？我觉得也配不
还够不了一点。早上挺开线的，晚上真是。
Just asking for your ID and group name. That's it.
白天我要重装很多东西，装手札嘛，什么手 BS 扣。对呀。
A group 6, right? What about this part?
Separate.
顺序不一样。对讲不一样。就是你都是用 iOS 吗？你可以。他说的是 Apple Store 的 Apple， 平时用 Apple 吗？对，因为我觉得什么都会带，我用。你要这它有一点是 Apple ID， 但是在。I have next Thursday. Actually, around this it's my grandma's birthday, so it's gonna be like a family gathering. Do dinner for him.
Okay, we can start. How is everybody? Not very enthusiastic? Enthusiastic? It's the coming to Thanksgiving break. Everybody's a bit tired, I guess.
We have a Thanksgiving break. We take classes next week.
Next week we have classes. The week after we don't have.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Full week is off.
Oh, the full week is off. Okay.
That's Wamsi, right?
Yeah.
Lifting you guys up because yeah.
Satya or Hardik? Satya Hardik. Okay, so Hardik is his last name?
Last name is with family names and family names. So usually we prefer first name.
Guys,
我今天还有课，上课老课，下课要上课了。
okay, how is this progressing with the app? I mean, we've a lot of people are missing the deadline on the UI coding and so on and so forth. So I don't have much received, but do you think we will get there? Do you think we will have something working? Yes?
Yeah.
You're on track. Okay. I mean, is there anything you can show me today after class or during the class or something, just something that gives me a little bit sort of confidence that we're gonna get there? Because yeah, you can show me on your computer later.
Something this week?
Yesterday, a professor asked for the UI coded version.
Okay, very good.
The UI one?
So,
UI program version.
and how did you guys do?
Not the Figma designs, but the coded program.
Started. So it's working now. You have a working code.
Submitted anything?
He
Is
submitted.
it on IDX or on your laptop?
Is he coming today or not? Is he coming today or not?
I think he should be coming. He also missed the last.
Okay. Okay, so we didn't do authentication very well. So I want to go through authentication in depth today. Okay, and also through Google Sign-in and Apple Sign-in. Okay, the Google Sign-in, Apple Sign-in, they both have really sort of hair-splitting peculiarities that you need to tinker a lot. So I'll try to give you as much of a formula as possible so that you can, if you want to, implement it, that you can do it. But let's first do the email authentication. There is this package called Firebase UI Auth, which is what I used on the template app. Okay, but I think the vanilla version is going to be better. So therefore, I just want to go through it so that everybody has a good understanding of this, and then we can continue. So, okay. With that said, the first thing you need to do is go to your Firebase thing and enable email password sign-in. Okay, so you'll have the this thing enabled. Let's have a look what it looks like. Right, so if you go to here, if you don't see the authentication here, you just go to build and you'll select it from there, right? It's hidden, the shortcuts. Before you use it, it's not there. Okay, authentication, sign-in method, and then add new provider. And here, our email and password. The email password is enabled. Email link is not enabled. So the email link login is, you can, instead of having a password, every time you want to log in, you get an email link and then you click on the email. We don't have it on this case. This one is enabled. Okay, so that's the first order of business. Okay, so how am I structuring my life with the email page? Okay, so if I'm not logged in, we'll get there. How do we, how am I in the state of not being logged in? We're going to talk about it with the router. Okay, remember we had this refresh listenable, and the refresh listenable, when the user changes to null, it will send it to my sign-in page. So I have a sign-in page. So this is my page, sign-in page, which has the block builder, which then directs things based on the state, right? So this is the page that does the state transitions, or not transitions, but the state based views, sign-in page. Now, the sign-in page has a block builder and a block listener. So these two together is called a block consumer. So if you have something called a block consumer, they will have a listener and a builder component. The listener, you remember what the listener does, right? The listener doesn't build anything. It just can call things like put events onto blocks, or do pop-ups, or do snack bars and things like that. That's what the listener do. And in this case, the green arrow means success. So the email sign up has been successful, in which case the block listener, it goes to the router and gives the router a new destination, right? So giving router a new destination is different than putting something into the widget tree, which the block builder does. Because who is actually putting into, changing the widget tree, then is the router. and the block listener is just giving it instruction. So this is the email sign up. Now, if it's, how does it get sign up? So you have a sign up view. So you're in the sign up state. Somehow you got there. We'll see how you get there. But you're in the sign up state, and the block builder is displaying the sign up view. Okay? You're in the sign up state, block builder is displaying sign up view. And then on the sign up view, you do certain things. You click the button, and this calls the email sign up function in the qubit, right? So you put in an email and a password, and it calls up this function. Now this function interacts with Firebase Authentication and tries to build a user account for you, this function. If it's not successful, it returns an error code or error message back to the here, which then you display on the same page, because he's at that stage where he's trying to sign up. He made a mistake. He didn't put a nice password, or he didn't put a right email address. He's gonna continue living on this page until it's successful, in which case the view doesn't change, or the view doesn't have to change, but because this one emits a new state, a success state, okay, the block listener tells the router, okay, go to the home page now, okay? And this view remains on the screen during that infinitesimal time that the router does his job, okay? So that's the sign-up flow. And the reason I'm showing this arrow going all the way to here is because this is going directly back to the view. There is no state change in this red thing. So actually on the, I should say that. So on the, remember on the sign up page, there's always, oh, actually I have an account, let me go back to sign in, right? So on the sign up page, there is also a sign in button. There's a sign in button. And on the sign in page, there is a sign up button, right? On the sign in page, there is a sign up button, which will then, I didn't draw it here, it's trivial. The sign up is going to do a sign up request. Sign up request will emit the sign up state, and that's actually we can just do that quickly here. So let's just so the sign up button from the sign in view is going to sign up request, and that is going to emit the sign up state, right? So if you're in the sign in view and you want to sign up, you call this function, which then emits the sign up state, and then the builder shows you the sign up view. Okay? Now let's look at the sign in. In the sign in method, so I'm in the sign in view, okay? I'm sending my data to email sign in. Success, again, redirect to home. And failure, go back to sign in view. Okay? So it's the system. Any questions so far on this? Okay. Let's just do that button as well. So you have the sign in view on the sign in button on the sign up view. So that would be then sign in request, let's say. Yeah. So the sign in request will then emit a sign in state. Okay, so this is still the sign in. And the last one is forgot password. So the forgot password view will call the forgot pass function and it will go back to itself, but if it's successful, it's no longer doing this, right? It's no longer issuing a success, but it's sending it back to the sign-in page for him to sign in with the new password. So that's why the forgot pass is going this way with the success. That's the difference to the other pages. And how do our screens look? I mean, ignore this for now, but this is my page for sign-in, right? I have an email password, reset password link, and the forgot password, a sign-in button after I fill these fields, and the sign-up button. The sign-up page looks like this. In case I want to go back, I have a sign-in link, and in the password reset page, I just have the email and a cancel. Okay? So, questions? No. Okay, so let's see this in action. Why was this recording? What happened? What happened? Why are you guys laughing?
Because you were recording.
Huh?
Because you were recording.
Okay. Why was it recording the screen? I don't know. Delete. Okay, so email, let me, so for the sign up, if I go to sign up, let's see, I'm trying to sign up with a invalid email. It says invalid email, so we'll see how this all comes around. Go back to sign in. Let's see. Okay, it's signed in. So the way I've done this is basically it goes to the home page, and home page has just a sign out button which signs me out. So go back to sign out. Now, how does the reset password work? I want to reset my password. I'm putting in my email. So before it sends me back to the other page, it shows me this alert saying that your password is on the way, and sends me back to the sign-in page now. And the password reset comes like this. So this page can be modified by you, right? There is the ability to modify this page. Let's see where that is. So in the email, in the templates here, look at this thing: reset your password for blah blah, new password, and so on. So there's certain text here, and here password reset. So the subject is reset your password. So if you want to do this in another language, in a little bit differently, blah blah, and then it also has this thing hello, and so on and so forth. But of course, this is the infrastructure that Firebase is giving you. In real world, you would have to have this on your own domain and configure a proper page through a web app or something to do these things. But of course, you have to do the password reset process manually. In that case, this Firebase is doing for you. These action codes and op codes, etc. here that comes with that password reset that allow you to then call some Firebase functions to do the restore. And there's like this SMTP settings here. Okay, what these are is if you want to change the sender from Firebase or Google to your own domain. So if you want to make this sender your xyz.com, this is where you do it. You have to do some verification, I think. This SMS I haven't used actually, so it would be interesting to use at some point. Yeah, so that's the templates bit. You can change these to make a better looking app. And change the password to password and go back to the app. I can sign in, sign out, and let's do the sign up. So remember I told you about this plus things for testing. Okay, so everything was valid. It immediately issued a sign in. Of course, when you do this type of sign in, your email is not verified. You're in an email not verified state. So with this, let's look at the code. Any questions so far on this? No? Is it too basic? I mean, should we do other things? I don't know. Is it good? Is it useful? Okay. You're not making much feedback today. Okay. All right. So from this code, basically what I've done is I've taken out everything that we can take out, made it almost like a zero, because there was a lot of things that were lurking around. And we, actually I should just go. Yeah, so I have a material app with a router, okay? And what does the router look like? So in the router, I have this contract. I have a class called myRoutes, which have two paths, you know, the sign-in path and the home path, and named sign-in and home, you know, super simple. And then these myRoute objects contain a name and a path, okay? So I can define those objects as static from myRoutes, and then I don't need to use the names. Okay, so two routes, the home route and the sign-in route, okay? So here is my refresh listenable. Do you remember this refresh listenable thing, the stream to listenable, where we have taken a stream, or in this case, it can take multiple streams because it's an array. Input is an array, can take multiple. So we take multiple streams and turn it into a listenable because the router needs a listenable, okay? And what we're passing into here is the auth state changes. So Firebase Authentication will emit changes in the authentication state, and what comes is the user, the new user. And if it's not authenticated, all user is going to come as null. But for this trigger, you actually don't need the value of the user. So the way the router works is that it just says something happened, just do your redirect. If you're going to check who the user is, what the user status is, etc., do it in the redirect. I'm just telling you it's time to set state. It's effectively setting state like in a stateful widget, okay? And in here, if the current user is null and my full path is not pointing to sign in. So if I'm already in the sign in page and the user is null, don't do anything. Let the sign in page handle it, right? That's what you're saying, basically. But if you're not on the sign in page and the user is null, then send them to sign in page. That's what this is doing. And we've now connected directly to Firebase Auth current user. Again, this is for demonstration purposes. This is not the best way to code because you would want to put all that Firebase Auth stuff into a repository which you want to isolate from inside your code. But right now we're just trying to understand the logic really well. So this is this Firebase Auth instance auth state changes. That's my stream. That's what drives my app, whether I'm in the authenticated state or not. And it redirects me to this path. So that's all that I'm doing with the router. Okay, questions? All right. So, the router is fine. Now we have created our sign-in page. Okay? So the sign-in page, I haven't added everything yet, will come later. So the sign-in page, what does it do? That's the main entry point. It first I define my qubit as sign-in qubit. Okay? But this qubit, when I define it there, it's not yet injected into the widget tree. So it's not able to do anything. So here, with the block provider, this qubit is injected into the widget tree. Now it's available to block builders and everything else. So this is the injection for creating the widget tree. Then I have a block builder based on the state. And right now, I only have one state, the initial state. And I'm sending out the sign-in view, okay? That's at which stage this is now. And let's look at these views. Let's look at the sign-in view. And what do I have in the sign-in view? Okay, let's look at the bulk of it first from scaffold. So that's a page with the title sign-in, right? Then there's a form. I have a form key. I have a form. I wrap the entire content into a form. And I have I have a container which has a margin of 20. So I'm 20 away from the sides, showing a gap. Then I have a padding of 20. Then I'm setting the color scheme to primary container, color scheme, the background. I'm putting the width to max, and inside it I have a column with a main axis size min because I don't want it to fill the whole the page. I wanted everything to be in the middle of the page, because otherwise, remember, center fills the entire space that it has, right? So center is able to fill the entire states as it has. So it goes all the way to the edges of the body of the scaffold. But to its children or to its child, it says, you know, just build yourself as much as you need to build yourself. So, and the column, again, I'm going through these things because these are good to remind. So the column will only, if you don't tell the column main axis size min, it will try to fill vertically all the space, okay? So therefore, we're doing that. Now, I have two text form fields. They are both driven by a controller, okay? And these controllers, let's have a look at the initiation of the controller. So these are my two text editing controllers, email controller, password controller. Then I have an email and password variable, which is currently null, okay? And I do an extra step of actually initializing the controllers to empty string. Then let's look at again on the onSaved property, right? So if it's saved, it will take the text inside the controller and put that value into the email variable, and same for the password variable, okay? With the password, there is this command, obscure text true, that makes the password field show these dots and so on. Now the next one is a container containing a filled button. And the reason I'm putting it into a container is because I'm pushing the container to the sides, which then allows the filled button to fill the entire space. Okay? Otherwise, the filled button will only be as big as the text in it, and it just looks nicer if the filled button fills the entire space. Now, I don't forget the dispose, right? Of the controllers. It's very important. And what should happen with the so at the moment this is getting a function, a callback function. So email sign in callback function from the main page, but currently I'm not using it because I just did the UI. But this callback function ensures that this page is not related to the qubit. So you can take it and use it with another qubit somewhere else. It's completely self-contained. And the way I'm passing the qubits, actually, let's lodge this here. Lodge this here. So the qubit has a method called email sign-in, takes email and password. It's not connected yet, okay? And the sign-in page, which, as you know, sign-in page does the redirecting. It calls the sign-in view, and it passes on as the callback, the qubits callback, because the sign-in page is very qubit related. So you can use as many of the qubit things on the sign-in page, it's okay. But on the view pages, you should use the callback functions. So that's the basic idea, okay? So the next thing we're going to look at is how all this is connected to Firebase. Any questions so far on the structure? Yes?
Can you repeat that again? You said something that about the callback function. We use it so that the view is completely independent and we could use it with anything, not just any qubit. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then
Because if you look at the sign-in view, this has no reference to the qubit. So this is something that, you know, collects an email and password, and does this function. I mean, in the next ones it will be a little bit more stuff in there, but it does this function, and then if there is an error coming, actually it's not implemented the error here. I'll show it in the next one. But if there is an error, it shows it. But until it's successful, it does this stuff. But it doesn't know whether it's being done by a qubit or whoever, and so on and so forth. So it's
Where do we use the qubit then? On the block builder? Is that what you were showing before?
Yeah, the qubit basically orchestrates all the stuff, because the user comes to the sign-in page. He may want to do different things. He may want to do a forgot password. He may want to sign up. He may want to sign in. He may want to Google sign in and stuff. All of that stuff, qubit, remember, is the kitchen, that is serving all this stuff to the customer. So that the sign-up page is is effectively the restaurant main dining room, and the views are the plates or whatever. So so that's the structure. If you want to go quickly back to this, right? So we looked at the sign-in view. Sign-in initial pushes the sign-in view. In this one, the sign-in view, and then it should send its stuff to the email sign-in method in the qubit. So qubit has all these methods. It talks to Firebase Authentication, all of that stuff. None of this stuff, like Firebase Authentication or anything, none of that stuff lives in the view. The view is just a template to show stuff. Okay, so let us pull the next one. Okay. All right, so I'm right in the qubit, and let's look at what's happening with this email sign-in. Okay, so the email sign-in function in the qubit returns a string, a nullable string, which means if it's null, I'm good, I've done it, right? That's what it returns when it's null. But when it's not null, it basically returns an error message which should be displayed. We'll see how it's displayed on the other side, but it will be displayed as an error message. Now, what does Firebase Authentication do? So this is the section where we're putting this into a try-catch, and Firebase Authentication's exceptions are Firebase auth exceptions. And you can look up what type of error messages are contained within Firebase auth exceptions, right? In this case, one of the things is user not found. Then you turn it into a human readable message or wrong password, etc. But there are many other codes, and here this construct is basically on any other exception. I'm just sending the code, and any other error. So this construct is, on this particular exception, do these things. But of course, there could be other errors. Then you have another catch. Is that clear to everybody? Have you seen this before? Yeah. Okay. So, so this is now complete on the try-catch, and what the Firebase auth instance sign in with email password returns is a user credential, this is also not complete. This code. We'll get. Hang on. We'll just get the next one. Sorry guys, this is not good code. So we should check actually here if the credential is null, we shouldn't send the sign-in success. So there's a little mistake here. I'll fix it later. But basically, I'm getting the credential, and then I'm sending in the success message. And of course, if the credential is wrong, or actually if the email password is wrong, or if the user doesn't exist, it's not going to return me a null user. It's going to return an exception. So actually, maybe this is sort of okay. But anyway, if I get the credential, I'm not in the exception mode. I can emit my sign-in success, and the listener is going to send me to the correct page. Otherwise, it's this. Similarly, for email sign-up, okay, if I get a credential back from the create user with email and password, I'm good. I send a sign-in success, and I return null back to the function to the view. And these are the potential codes that can come back. Again, you can make it a bigger list and handle all the possible codes, etc. And so that's the two functions for sign in and sign up, which the qubit is doing, right? Interacting. Yes.
And does it deal with duplicate emails for you, or?
Yes. So yeah. So basically, where was I? Sign up. The account already exists, okay? Yeah, email already in use, the account already, so there is the code already being handled here. Okay, so that's the email sign up, email sign. So let's see how this works in the sign-in view. Okay, so first of all, let's have a look at the button. Okay, so the button is going to first try to validate the form. So if the validation is okay, it will go. But if it's null, because the current state could be null, then it will be false, and this will not run. Then it is going to save this. And saving, what does saving do? It basically takes the controller's values and transfers them to the email and password variable, right? The save function takes the value and transfers the controller's text into email and password variable. And then I'm sending it to the email sign-in callback as email and password, and I get an error message. Okay? If the error message is not null, so if I get an actual error message that I need to display, then it means that first of all, I'm still staying on this page, right? I'm not going somewhere. I'm still staying on this page. So therefore, one of the things I do is I clear the controller so the guy can enter email from fresh. These are the two things I do. Then I change my crossfade state, right, for displaying the error message, okay? Because I've put my error message into an animated crossfade at the top of the page with an error color, okay? And it's displaying the error message. The first child is a container, so initially, when the error message is not there, or when I get into the page, it just shows me an empty container which doesn't show anything. But the second child, meaning the child that will be shown in the crossfade state show second, okay? In that crossfade state, that is the error message with that color, and the duration is 300 milliseconds, and the crossfade state therefore gets to show second value to be able to switch to showing the error message, okay? And all of that is happening in the set state, so my page gets re-rendered again, my controllers get zeroed out, and so on. So that's, I think, I mean, you can do these things 100 different ways, but I think this is a neat page that handles all of that in a concise way.
If you wanted to clear it out, then I guess you set the fade state to show first, I guess.
If you wanted to do what?
If you wanted to clear out the message, then you say show first, and it will show an empty container.
Yes, for example, tell me how I would do that.
On the button? When you click it?
Huh?
On the button, setting the
No,
state?
there's a more natural way to do it. What's the most natural way to go back to the to erasing the error? When would you want to erase the error?
Start typing.
Yes, and which function, which property allows us to do it? Unchanged, yes. Right, so very good. So the unchanged property of the things would effectively do a set state on the crossfade state and push it to 1.
Show first.
Yeah, very good. Okay. And so the same thing, so this is for the sign-in view. And let's have a quick look at the sign-up view. So sign-up view, again, this doesn't change. The animated crossfade is the same thing, whatever error message I'm going to show. Text form field, again, email and password. So these days, a lot of people are not asking for a confirmation of the password, right? Because it's so easy to reset the password. You just ask the guy the password once, and if he typed it wrong in the first instance, so be it. He can always, change it. So therefore, I'm not putting a second, password confirmation box. Just easy, I think. And the callback is now the email sign up callback. Again, the same logic here. The button sign up. And then with a little row underneath, so with a little row here, this row, I put a text button because my main button is sign up button is this big filled button, but the more subdued button is the text button sign in right here. Okay? And this is the sign in request callback. So this is basically, this is the callback telling Qubit to emit a new state, right, which is the sign in state. So the sign in request callback in the Qubit is running this sign in request, which basically emits the sign in initial. Similarly, sign up request will emit the sign up state in the Qubit. Okay? Questions before we take a break? Yes, Kim Song.
The text form, I'm sorry, I don't remember correctly, but can you query for the property of a text form, whether it currently has letters or characters in it at the moment?
Yes, through the through text editing controller. Controller.text always gives you that. And then on change will give you, you can trigger with every letter you can trigger. So there is topics which I haven't that much looked at. There's topics like formatting the text inside the text editing controller as you type. For example,
Autocomplete and stuff like that,
Autocomplete is one, but autocomplete is coming from the operating system. Not the autocomplete, sorry. spell checks and those things, they come from the operating system, and you can suppress them. So if you look at, because sometimes you need to suppress them. So in the text form field, I don't know where it was. There's yeah, look, input formatters and so. I mean, there's so much stuff on this thing. Build scroll, autofill hints. Oh no, this is auto-validate mode is something different. Auto-validate mode basically is if you set it on, every time you type something, it runs the validator and shows the error message until the error message goes away. Yeah, spell check configuration. So some of these things will stop those autocompletes and spell checks, etc. So it's very exhaustive thingy. Okay, let's take a 10-minute break and let's continue. I think now with this we're going sort of really step by step, so slowly. Hopefully, it's sinking in a little bit more because you will have to implement some authentication. Okay, so see you in a few minutes.
Are you going to publish the grade for quiz 2? I don't see it.
The what?
The grade for quiz 2.
Oh, I don't know what the grader did. I'll have to ask him. I'll have to do my. Oh, okay. I'll take a look. I'll also have to give you the study guides and. Yeah.
Then it would automatically see the question. Oh, so this is that lane is just the same. The lane is just the same as the cost. No, I know. What am I adding those from? Just do this right now. Go and turn that to 20.
That's okay? It's okay? Yes, yes, you can. And I'm going to put up the notes as well.
Transaction. Okay,
I have some annual meeting.
No, that's fine. This part is kind of
Okay, I guess we can start, right? So, just before I go to the Google sign-in, so just before going to Google sign-in, in the sign-in qubit, we didn't cover the forgot password, but basically it will, it has this, Firebase Auth has this method, send password reset email. It takes one argument and it sends this email to the user. And again, we're not emitting success, but we're emitting go back to the sign-in page here with the sign-in initial. Okay, so that's the forgot password page. And everything else is the same. And yeah, and these request functions are just to emit these things. Okay, so we're gonna look at the Google sign-in next. For these federated, they call it federated authentication, there is a package called sign-in button. So this package has all these it has already predefined all of these social buttons, so you don't have to go around and try to find all these individual icons and colors and stuff like that. So looking at the code in my sign-in view, I have made, actually look at the code. So I split it into two containers in my sign-in view. This is my email password container, and this is my social sign-in buttons container. And I also don't differentiate between signing up with the social, right? If you don't have an account with social, you can still immediately log in and you get an account. So some websites will give you a separate sign up with social, but sign up and sign in for social is the same. I think it's easy. So, and how is that? So this upper container is, so I have in this structure, I have a animated crossfade, which is now has become a box. So it's a container with a box decoration, meaning it has a color and it has a radius. So the background is an error container, and it has a radius of 10. And if so that's how it looks like. So I force it to be in the thing. So this is also sort of something that we see on apps. You know, the error appears as a separate container, and this error would serve basically errors from both. Okay, let's get this back to show first. Refresh. Okay, so the first one is this animated crossfade, the first box. The second container has a background color of surface container, so that's that little gray box, and it has two buttons. You know, one button is the Google sign-in button, so it's the sign-in button widget that we bring from the package, and I pass in the button type, and it makes a Google button. The only thing is I can also give a shape. So in this case, I wanted to make it a rounded rectangle. So the round button, just like the regular buttons of the filled button size. So I manipulated the shape here. And the next one is the Apple button. Okay, so that's the UI part of it. There's nothing else on the UI that you need to worry about with the Google sign-in. And before we look at the setup, I want to show you how it operates functionally. So for the Google sign-in, we need the package. So we need a Google sign-in package that is this one. We need to add the Google sign-in package. And what do? The first thing is calling Google sign-in. Okay, and what Google sign-in does is it gives me a Google user or not, right? If it cannot sign in, if I cancel it, it gives me no Google user. But if it's signed in, it will give me a Google user. Let's quickly have a look what this Google user looks like. Okay, so I click on sign in, I select my account, and we're here. So this Google user has this ID token which we will use, but most importantly, it has my display name, it has my email, it has my photo URL. Okay, so these are the three things that come with the Google sign-in. You know, if they are defined, in some people it won't be defined, and that's the core thing that comes from Google sign-in. Okay, now if it's not null, it's going to try to get here. Now, with this Google user, we'll check its authentication state or authentication tokens in this step. So let's continue here. So this Google Auth, it has an access token and ID token, basically, right? It has two parameters, access token, ID token, which what we do is that this Google Auth provider, do it now, but so this Google Auth provider, it's actually coming from the Firebase Auth. So Firebase Auth it knows about Google Auth provider in the same way Firebase Auth knows about Apple Auth provider, right? And so the auth provider comes in, but this comes from the Google sign-in package, the Google sign-in authentication, and this Google sign-in account and Google sign-in, the sign-in, those things come from now we're going into the Firebase Auth world where we're trying to, using these tokens, we're going to try to get the credential. So we create now with these tokens a credential, and then we get the user credential by basically saying, instead of sign in with email and password, we're now signing in with these tokens that Google Sign-In has given us. Okay? And the end result, the user credential is just, it's the same same thing. Let's just look at this quickly. So the Google user is not null. We've seen this. The next step is this credential, which is is the ID token and so on. The next thing is now a credential from that Firebase Auth creates for me. It's a different access token and different ID token, I think. Is it? No, it's the same one. Okay. Anyway, and then I get my user. So the user credential, okay, that's the user object that lives in Firebase Auth. And what does the user object, because this is important, is you may have to access this from time to time. The user object has multiple things. First of all, it has whether email verified is true. There is this anonymous sign-in thing in Firebase, and obviously this is saying this is not anonymous. The other thing is probably multi-factor thing. So the photo URL that comes from Google is also given here. And the provider data, this is the data that Google has given to Firebase. So this is included in here as well, sort of like the raw data from Google. So this user object of Firebase has a lot of information, and there is also the possibility to link multiple authenticators into one user. So for example, you've signed in with email and password. Then you come back to the app and you click on Google Sign In, and it's the same email. There is a way to link them. I'm going to show that. I mean, I don't want to show it now, but that's the power of Firebase Authentication. Okay, so those are all good. That's how basically the Google sign-in works, but how do we set it up? That's the slightly painful part. Okay, the first thing is we enable the Google sign-in provider, right? So in the, where it was, in here, sign-in methods, Google sign-in provider, this needs to be enabled. So now it requires a SHA-1 fingerprint for it to work. And this step can be ignored because you can bring everything in with Flutterfire configuration. And where does this SHA-1 fingerprint go? It's in your Android app. There is a SHA certificate fingerprints, and this is where we're going to paste it in. Okay? That's the app signing key. App signing key. And the way to create it is there is the debug certificate, and there is also the production certificate. So let's forget about the release certificate now. You have to create this from Android Studio. But the debug certificate is already included in your installation. So all you have to do is paste this into your terminal, like so. Key tool list debug. And then the key store password is Android. So let's put this there. Second, let's put this in red. Okay, so when you look at this file, you know what it is. Okay, the key store password is Android, and it gives you these SHA-1 and SHA-256. You take this, the first one, and paste it into that certificate fingerprint part. Okay, so that's the way to sort out the fingerprint bit. Okay, so fingerprint we have to get in. So the next thing is I go back to Flutterfire, and this should theoretically, by saying don't use the existing Firebase JSON, you see the no here. If you let it override with the fresh information, this will work. So we've taken back Flutterfire stuff into our code, and then on the Android this will work. You don't have issues on the Android, it will work. There is an extra step for Apple, and this extra step is that the Google Service Info plist file that sits in your iOS directory. So let's go back, iOS directory, let's close everything, let's open iOS, runner, Google Service Info.plist. Okay, so there is a reverse client ID, this one. This reverse client ID needs to be entered as a URL scheme to Apple for it to be able to operate the Google sign-in. And this has to be entered here into the info plist somewhere in this region. As shown here. Okay, so with this syntax into the dictionary, you enter this reverse client ID, and that should enable you to run things on Apple as well at this stage. So that's a manual intervention that you need to do, and Flutterfire doesn't do it for you. With that, your Google authentication will work. If I can get my iPhone to compile here, I'll show you as well on the iPhone, but it's a bit so there we go. Because I only added it at this stage, as you can see, it's here. Questions for Google sign-in? Okay. So what we haven't talked about, I mean, after I do the Apple sign-in, maybe we can talk about it. I haven't got anything prepared. But the information that you can store on this user object is very limited. And where do you see that user object actually? Let's go back to authentication. If I click on users, it lists here all the users on the platform. So there's a few things that you have the ability to do. First of all, you can take a backup of all the users with cloud storage. You can put it into a daily backup routine. You can take all the users. And from here, manually, you can do things. You can delete, add, etc. And it also shows you here what provider the user has logged in. Okay? And sometimes if there are multiple providers on the user, you'll see the multiple icons. So this is a nice view. Now, but the only thing is you don't have all the information that you can set. So you have to have a separate user database, right? A separate user table where you're actually keeping all your user information. So the good practice is this UID that, where was this? So in the user credential, we don't see it at the moment, but maybe we can see. Where did you see it? Here. Okay, so this is the this UID, VSQ, blah blah. This UID is the UID that you see here. This UID. So VSQ, for example, this one is the user UID. You can take the same user ID and you can create the document in your user database with that UID. So, for example, this is what I would do. So, can I copy this? Copy UID. So, I copy the UID, and this is what it should look like in my database. So, for example, let's make another collection called users. Okay? And I'm adding a user, this one, name okay, and I don't know, email. So you see, I've created a user with the same document ID as the UID of the auth, which makes it then very simple if a user has logged in and and I know his UID, then I can immediately go, without having to search, I can immediately go to the user database and pull up all the information I need to pull up for him. So that's a pattern that is the good way to do it. So don't create a user with a new document ID and then store that ID in there and try to look it up. This is a really good way to do it. Okay, so I'm just going to check if my Xcode is still running or what's it doing. Okay. All right, I'll move on to the Apple sign-in. Okay, if there's no more questions here. All right, so this is a little bit cheeky Apple stuff. So when you put a Google sign-in or Facebook sign-in or something to your app, Apple insists that it should also be included. So if you are developing an app that you're going to push it on iPhone, and you only have Google sign-in implemented, Apple is not going to let it through. Initially, they were blatantly coming and saying, if you have Google sign-in, you have to have Apple sign-in as well. Then they changed it to this. The login service allows users to keep their email address private as part of setting up their account. And it so happens that Apple sign-in has this feature that you can hide your email address. Whereas with Google sign-in, your email address goes to the app who is signing you in. But Apple has this hiding feature, or it's called the private relay, and it doesn't specifically say so you have to put Apple sign-in, but it says you have a service that allows you to do this. And Apple sign-in, so it's a cheeky way for them to do this. So that's why if you put Google sign-in, you have to put Apple sign-in, unfortunately, even though it will be much less popular and painful because you don't have direct access to the guy's email address. The default setting is hide my email. I mean, it's Apple, right? I mean, it just doesn't want to give anything away. So again, we go and add the provider to Firebase, just like we've added Google sign-in, etc. We'll come to that code in a second. So, in the Apple developer account, probably not a lot of you are familiar with the Apple developer account, but if you are going to push something for Apple, you can use my developer account. I can add you to my team. That's why I sent you these forms. So today, we added Ni on that account, so she now has an app set up. She can check things into the app. She can do everything. She set up the NFC for her stuff. So if you want me to do that, send me that document form back. I'll do that. Okay. So I register an app ID. That's the first thing I do. So this is my bundle ID from the app that I did on Firebase, the iOS app bundle ID. I enter into here, and I register this identifier as an app ID. And actually, while we're at it, let's just go to the actual beast and have a look. So this is my apps, and actually no, certificates. Okay, so this is the developer account. This is the entry point to the developer account. And in the entry point to the developer account, this side is things to do with the apps, like putting in a new app or deploying in another app. And this thing is all has to do with these identifiers, certificates, keys, whatever, all of that stuff. So go to certificates, identifiers, and in the identifiers you have different types of identifiers. So the first thing you'll have to do is you have to create your app ID, and for example, with the peer tab, right? That's thing. This has been defined as peer tab, and this is their bundle ID. And you can also see from here if there is anything, if anything has been provisioned. Yeah, so NFC tag reading has been provisioned for this one. Okay. And you may, I mean, you will also do the push notification stuff. Where was it? Yeah, like the push notification stuff. You may have to do for messaging. Sign in with Apple. This is what, for example, this one has. The CSEN demo. This is the app that I have right now. If we go to its provisioning, it has this. Oh, I put it there just to test it. I'm not using it. So this is the sign in with Apple is done here. So just showing you these pages because this should just give you a bit of a feel, you know, what it looks like inside the developer account for Apple. So you're very familiar with Firebase, obviously, but this is, and then there's also the Google developer account, but that's another topic. Okay, let's go back to the slides. So you create your app ID, which is the same as the other one. And then for Apple sign-in, you have to also create a services ID. Remember on the side, you have this drop-down. You now click services ID, and you add an identifier. So while you're in the services ID, you add the identifier, and the identifier is a services ID. Continue. So you select, I'm adding a services ID. And the services ID is going to look like your bundle ID plus this little thing called sign-in, you know. So it's a different, how should I say, a different ID than your regular bundle ID. And you have to register a key, a sign-in key, okay? So the sign-in key purpose is sign in with Apple, okay? And that's needs to be configured. If you go to this page, this sign-in key, for which app it should be considered, it should be configured for the com.artun FM demo, which is the app that I'm talking about now. So that's given here. And then I just register it. After I register it, it tells me also, you know, this is the main app ID, and this is the services ID, which is going to be associated with the Apple sign-in, okay? Now you save this key into your computer because you don't have access to that key again. So Apple doesn't keep that key on its server that you can download. You have to save it. And this is what it looks like. It's auth-key blah blah .p8, okay? And this 432Q stuff you will use, and then you'll open the key. You'll also use the private key inside. So going back to Firebase, the new services ID you've created, that sort of like bundle ID type of thing, but it's services ID, you put in here. it says not required for Apple. It's a little bit misleading information. It means not required when you're running an Apple app, but it's actually required to run it if you're running it on Android or web.
So can you have the sign in with Apple button in Android?
Yes,
You can? But how does it work then?
it just works like Google sign-in works on Apple.
Okay.
You'll see in a minute.
Kind of like a browser, I guess.
Yes, yes. Oh, there is one step I missed here. I have to put it back in. So, okay. So this is where I put it, and then in this auth code flow, I enter the Apple team ID. So this is the ID of my Apple developer account, the key ID, that 43 blah blah that you saw, and then the private key inside. So this is now entered into Firebase. In my Xcode, the next thing I need to do is I need to go to Xcode, and I need to add the capability of Apple sign-in. And that's done by selecting the target runner and hitting that capability button. And it gives me this pop-up. And here I just double click on the sign in with Apple, and that capability is added to my, no, it's added to my Xcode. Not the emulator, it's basically added to the project. So here in the runner, under capabilities, you have the sign in with Apple. And there are other capabilities that you can put, like this NFC, you can put, and push notifications, etc. Okay, so that's that. Now, one thing I somehow missed over there, and it's very important, is this, the auth handler. So this auth handler is what Apple will do after it's granting Apple sign-in. Because remember, Firebase Auth is a service here. This is your browser, and this is Apple. So you're going to Apple and saying, sign me into Firebase, effectively, okay? And the way Apple is doing that is you also need to pass them a handler, a link, so that they can give the credentials back to that link, which should go to Firebase Authentication, which then comes back to your device and says you're authenticated. And that link is this handler link. It is entered. I'm going to fix the pages. It is entered here. Okay, let's have a quick look. Here, it is handled. Actually, not. I'm going to show that one as well, but I first want to. So this services ID, when I go to configure, it says, okay, so this is the primary app ID that we said, okay, it's this FM demo, okay? But this is the important bit, the website URLs. If you look here, there is a domain, which is my Firebase domain, but the important thing is the return URL. So you enter the return URL in here so that after the authentication, Apple can tell Firebase, okay, this guy is good. And this is his tokens and blah, blah, and so on. Just like Google is giving you tokens, Apple is giving you tokens, and it's only able to give it. So this is a crucial bit that I need to add to the slides. Okay, so with that, you have Apple sign-in. Let's see what has been able to be built and what we can show. Where is my... Where's my Apple simulator? Huh?
3-finger swipe up.
What's that?
3-finger swipe up. Yeah, it's not there. I don't know.
But it thinks it's there.
Yeah, it's probably just.
Oh, here. Okay, we have it. Okay, so this should have, fingers crossed, the sign-in with Apple working. Yeah, it's working. So continue with password because because I don't have fingerprint on the simulator, and it signed me in with Apple. Okay, sign out. Now you wanted to see how it looks on the other one. Let's have a look if I can get it to work. I may have to just stop it because I changed the code base. So let me select the right, okay, the pixel. Let's stop the pixel and let's rerun it quickly. Rerun it on the pixel. Okay. I'll show you how it looks on the pixel. There was some weird behavior when I was earlier testing. Some people saw that same behavior, but I don't know if it's a virtual device thing or not. Okay, so sign in with Apple on the Android. So it gets me to an Apple page. Huh?
Oh, it's using the browser.
It is using the browser, yes. Continue with password. Because I already signed, it's not asking me anymore, shall I hide your email and not? Because in the first sign-in, Apple will give either my real email or the private relay email, the fake email. I mean, not fake, but. Okay, when I click continue, it should, it gives me again the same page. Okay, so that's the weird behavior. I don't know. I need to, we need to figure out why it's doing this. But that's not to worry because it actually signed me in. So it didn't give an error. It actually signed me in. The only thing is it's put me back onto the sign-in page for whatever reason. We have to close that. I mean, we have to go back from the browser back to the app, and that actually I know the reason. The only way you can do that is that if you're doing it through your domain, if your authentication handler is sitting in your domain, and then once the authentication is done in your domain, the web browser, you send it through app links back to the app. So if it's on the device, you close the web page and you send it back to the app. That's how you would do it. I think this is the normal behavior. So anyway, it logged us in as an Apple authentication, and so we have through these methods we have Apple sign-in, Google sign-in covered, email password sign-in covered, password reset covered. A lot of things covered. The next thing that you can cover potentially is also this email verification, but it's simple, you know, you just put a button. If the email is not, because you have the user access, if the email is not verified, you can do that. But questions on these? I think that was a really deep dive onto authentication, and obviously all of these things change every now and then, but hopefully these guides should stay current for a while, that you can go back and follow these steps exactly to be able to do it quickly. All right. If no questions, you can go. Yes.
Like offline authentication. So say for example, I logged in, I closed the app, and then I no longer have internet connection.
Oh, it stays. The token stays there.
It says?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So as long as I don't have another page that requires authentication again?
Well, you will remain authenticated for quite indefinitely, I think. I don't know, but with the app you will remain authenticated unless you are manually, as an app provider, you're manually kicking people out. Like banks do it, right? The banks ask for this face unlock and so on. I haven't done that, but I can look into it. Maybe we can look at that feature, because the banks, the moment you go to another app and come back, the banks want fingerprint authentication to show you the app. But with that, once you have either email or anyone, you won't be logged out of the app. It will stay there.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking of like the scenario of like, you know, our application, like if you have an application where you want to be able to use it offline, but yeah, so like if you close the app, you log out, and then you no longer have internet access, you can no longer use the app.
Yeah, but if you log out, there's no way. But you don't log out, you just close the app.
Yeah, okay.
Because when you're closing the app, you're not logging out actually.
Yeah.
So the token stays. And the same thing with the web. It stays in local storage. Cool.
I wonder, like the app, the All Trails app, I wonder how it does it. Like, it's a very interesting scenario what he's saying, because in the All Trails you likely just go and, like, you know, go in the mountains and you have no reception.
Yeah.
But the premium version gives you something else that I can't remember.
Okay, so the All Trails app, you know, will ask you to download a map before you start going.
Ah, that's true.
So it has a local copy of the map. The GPS signal doesn't require mobile signal. So then your path is stored, and once it has internet connection, it manages to push it out. I mean, but the key is, the crucial part is the offline map. And you know, Google Maps has offline maps as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That means like if your app requires cloud functions, it just does not work
Yeah.
offline.
You need to do all of that when you have reception. You're like, they don't have it, like, oh shit.
You have a backup, like like computation audio.
Wait, what did you do?
What I think is the fake one, they either have own apps, you can take it with the own app. For the animation.
I think what we have to do, like, at least get something to show, right?
Yeah, just, I guess we'll have to
Okay, explain this to me as well. The thing is, if, you know, one form per team for the bundle IDs and stuff and app name, obviously.
No, because
But
it's all based on
if I get your either record store or you know, Play Store or for the other one, if I for iPhone, if I get your ID which you use there, then I'll add you to my account as, you know, colleagues, so that you can do the testing on the real device, and so you can download the app to your device rather than just building it with the wire.
Okay, so if just one of us sends with that Google name and
But only that person will be able to download it on his phone.
okay, so everybody has to send it.
Wait, so what's supposed
I just need to get
is this
everybody's
what
email address.
you got
So
when you ran?
if one person sends and you send me the other email address, that's fine as well.
Oh,
Yeah, just tell me who wants to put the email.
Wait, can you not merge?
What did you
if
do
it
with your app?
Oh, I didn't work on it, Professor. I need to work it. Yeah. Maybe I'll connect with you on
Yeah.
next Tuesday
Can
because
you
I'm
not
not going
merge
to.
if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor.
We should show the demo page.
So we also need to
Yeah.
set up the tab or something. Some login thing.
How's it going?
It's going.
Maybe just we're working on the UI thing. Just
Okay.
try to work on this. Just I think we'll need. So for the UI, we don't have to really set the states or like the events or something. We just needed to put all the elements in one page.
Well, I mean, the reason I said you make the UI is just so that you have some, you know, time management, project management type of steps. Yeah, I mean, build the UI without complicating your mind with the various functionalities and backend and all these things. Build a UI, think about the injection point, think about the functions that need to happen. And then.
Do you have to get the app wrong? Do we have to make the app wrong?
What do you mean app wrong?
So such as like we can put up the page up, but we can pages to the states or qubit yet. We only have the view page.
Yeah, but you can change the name of the page manually to see how the page looks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
you can do that.
So if we do the pages separately, how are we gonna show the page?
So we would like to use web
Like
services,
the animated.
but it is not allowing me. This is the error when I'm trying to add
So
dependencies.
we just have the whole page to show every page.
But the home page is the sign in. Wait, which page?
No,
is it?
no. So landing page is what you get when you first open the app. We are searching on a button like for any location or destinations or something. Yeah, for that we are using web services.
And then it shows like the tracking.
Oh, so this is the home page.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
supposed to be
So you said that the home page is the page contains all those pages. Right.
Wait.
I mean, we have app on it, so okay. So
No, but what Jian is saying is for this assignment, we just do whatever we did for animations. But you guys are talking about the actual app. Yeah.
I like that as well.
What do you mean? But you have that.
What do you mean? Only animation.
This is what you
So
have.
basically,
we only have the
we code
elements.
Yeah, we code all of the
Well,
UI app
Do you see when it was published?
each page to
Together.
a button.
Yeah.
Oh, so we
Yeah.
can scroll the page.
And this is published by.
We just click such as like when we're doing the animation that app. So the
Immediately
first
get it
page,
out.
the whole page, open it, they're like lots of
Garbage.
buttons. So the first button.
I mean, again, it's experience, right? I mean,
I see, it's
I
just
know
for the
that's why.
presentation.
So
Yeah.
whenever
Yeah.
you use
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
services,
So
try to
we just
use
have
Okay, we just have
the
lots of
Google
buttons
or
and then
Flutter
Yeah.
sort
if we
of,
click on that button, we'll show
packages.
that.
If it's by a no name, it should have a
Like
lot of likes,
animation,
and it should